Round 9 of the Nationwide Tracking Systems V8 SuperSeries brings us to the newest venue on the iRacing platform, the NTS Hockenheim 150, getting way to start the second half of the championship and bring the curtain down on the first. Good evening, everybody. Zach Cabin and Matt Davis with you. Welcome to our coverage of Round 9 of the NTS SuperSeries on SimShed Broadcasting and Real Sim Racing Australasia across the platforms of Facebook and YouTube all around Australia, wherever you're joining us. Our first and only stop in Germany and the first stop in Europe this season. And there's plenty more where that came from, with at least another 4, including 3 British rounds on the European continent still to come this season. As I say, 8 rounds down. At the end of this, there'll be 8 rounds to go. This is the halfway mark of the season. 7.5 minutes left in qualifying here. And we'll get to the important details of some race stats and some championship points for you in just a moment. But firstly, Matt Davis is standing by to take us for an all-important hot lap. And Matt, I have to say, good evening to you. The pressure's on, mate, because this is the new venue on the platform. So this is the one that everyone's been hanging out for. We've been looking forward to this. And I know you've spent a fair bit of time just getting your eye in this afternoon.
Good evening to you, Zach, and good evening to everybody at home, and welcome. Yeah, mate, I've spent a couple hours just getting used to this new track layout around Hockenheim. It's definitely a tricky one, but it's an absolutely beautifully flowing track, and I really wish I was rubbing panels with the boys tonight.
Instead, you'll be calling side saddle with me here in Central Commentary, mate. It's a little over 4 kilometres. It's 33 laps the journey tonight, but you're going to take us for a ride over 1 right now.
Out of the last corner, across the start-finish line, into 5th gear. Back down just 1 gear and trail 4th gear right into the first corner. Hard on the power, out onto the apron. Hug it wide, get out of the way of pit lane. Up to the 150 board, hard on the brakes. All the way back down into 2nd gear. Trail it in, squeeze the power on, and flat to the board. Flat through here, up into 3rd. Oh, big slide.
Hold it, boy. Hold it.
Big slide. Get off the curb so it doesn't kick the car out. Up into 6th gear, down the straight. Catch a lot of draft down here. Just before the 150 board. Bang it hard on the brakes all the way down into 1st gear as I missed my brake marker. Try not to light them up out of the hairpin there. Up into 2nd, up into 3rd, into 4th, into 5th, just before you flick it right. Flat to the board through here, out wide, hard on the brakes. All the way down into 2nd, clip the apex. Hard on the power, quick little lift in 3rd. Ease it on. Up into 4th gear, up into 5th just before the barrier, and then trail the brake in 3rd. Up on the curb, hard on the power, out to the left. Just before the surface change, click it back down into 2nd gear. Try and hug it nice and tight, bring it out wide. Up into 3rd, little shift left, little shift right, back down into 2nd quicker just to slow the car up for me. Up into 3rd, nice and gentle on the throttle, come into the last corner, mid-apex, just plant your foot through the firewall, and back out onto the main straight. And ladies and gentlemen, that is Hockenheim, and that is not how you do it.
No. A very entertaining lap, nevertheless, Matt. Nicely done. Hey, you've just illustrated exactly why we wanted to do the hot lap right off the top, because it is the newest circuit on the platform. It is the one that's got a lot of intrigue surrounding it at the moment for that very reason. And as a result of that, anyone that's had some time behind the steering wheel on this circuit this week, and let's face it, a lot of our guys would have put time aside to have a crack, they could reap the reward tonight.
They definitely can. I mean, especially coming into the hairpin, it's a tricky brake marker. It's not one that you can really see. You got to really gauge it. There's a little bit of discoloration on the grass that the boys can see. That's about roughly where you want to be hitting the brake marker. So come later in the race, a lot of guys will try and take a few corners flat out where they're allowed to, but it's definitely going to be a tricky one for them tonight. It's new. There's going to be the nerves up very, very high tonight. So all I can say is, ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy the action-packed racing that's going to be unfolding right in front of your eyes.
Couple of trouble points on this circuit, most notably turn 1, turn 2 always throws up some action. And of course, the hairpin at turn 6. Got to be mindful of all of that. Let's have a look at the championship standings as we come into this round. Massive Leonage, after a commanding performance last week, he's extended his lead out actually to about 50 points now. There it is on your screen. Massive Leonage, the leader, and I've got no other info at the moment. Sorry about that, folks. We'll try that again. There it is. So, there you go, 1177 for Lassive Leonage. Now, when we left you last week, the margin on screen wasn't exactly how it correlated on air, but there it is. 1177 plays at 1153 for Cameron Veacock, and then Rene Costello on 1114. So we thought Leonage had extended his lead out a lot further than that, but still 24 points means it's anyone's game. Alex Court sits 4th, and then 5th is Cameron Jones, just 1 point between them. Blake Urquhart, then Ben Morris, Jacob Brewer, Alan Dawson, and Dean Powell, the top 10. Now, it's interesting. 299 points between 1st and 10th. Outside the top 10, Ireland Davis, Schultz, Crisdell, and McCune take us back to 15. You keep having a read of all of that as we go through here, ladies and gentlemen. One more question for Matt before we have a look at the race stats for tonight. Mate, 33 laps around here. We'll get to the ins and outs of that in just a moment. But being a 4.5-kilometre course, it's still 150 kilometres, so there's no difference in terms of race distance compared to what we've had at most of the other rounds, but this is the last sprint before we get stuck into enduro mode.
Definitely. It's the boys are now starting to think later down on in the championship how they want to be tackling these long endurance races that are coming up. One especially right at the end of the season, which is the renowned Bathurst. It's definitely going to be on tonight. Lasses Leonage is holding an incredible lead at the moment. It's tight, but it's incredible. He's got a lot of bonus points sitting in his back pocket, which a lot of these guys bank on. And Laz is definitely going to be wanting to definitely check out with those bonus points. He's going to be wanting clean racing. So look out for him. If he gets into some trouble, he might be steering clear just to claim those bonus points and just get a little bit of an upper hand on these guys in the field.
All right, let's have a look at the track stats for this evening's broadcast. Nationwide Tracking Systems, V8 SuperSeries, Hockenheim 150. You can see the little red markers there. They're the 3 sector splits around here. Of course, the start-finish line, the end of Sector 1. They're out of turn 3 and 4. And then, of course, on the run down to the hairpin. And then, of course, out of the first stadium section of the circuit is where the second intermediate lies. 4.57 kilometres, 33 laps, 151 kilometres. The fuel restriction tonight, a little bit higher, 55 litres. Pit stops, 2 of them tonight. The fuel burn, 3.8 per lap. So when we crunch the numbers there, Matt, it's important to note, 55 by 3.8, that's going to be 14.47 laps. So you're looking at around that 14.28 lap marker. But again, we know, based on previous experience, that if 14's the most you can get out of a tank, and that means the critical number is going to be 20, or the end of 19 rather, because then you're going to have 14 to home. 2 tyre sets per race, of course, one of which they start on, so they've got to decide at the first or second stop whether they take the tyres then, and that could play a part with the strategy at the back end when you take that second stop. 13th of April, that's the date. We're a little bit into the past, actually, European time. It's currently about 12:30 European time. We're going back to 10:05 race start. 19 is the air temp, 23 on track. That's impressive. And wind speed, 22 kilometres an hour in a southeasterly direction. So a strong wind with them tonight. There is no doubt about that. Checkered flag will be flying here any tick of the clock. Qualifying is in the books, ladies and gentlemen. Last flying laps coming in as we speak. And surprise, surprise, Lassive Leonage on top. Sean McNamara, Cameron Veacock, and Rene Costello, the top 4. The next name there, though, Matt Davis, is Ben Morris, and that's a name that's worth mentioning because Benny has been, by way of a little bit of assistance from the pointy end of town, it's important to note, he has been the big improver in the championship thus far. To find himself starting in the top 5, he'll be stoked with that.
100%. We haven't heard much of Benny Morris this season, and especially when I was out on track, I never really saw much of him either. So it's good to see the number 43 up there at the pointy end of the field. He's in the top 10. He's even in the top 5. So that is one to definitely look out for. That new track, Hockenheim, is definitely gelling with that driver out there tonight, Zach.
Indeed. If it's not Lassif Leonage and it's not Ben Morris, who do you think wins tonight, mate, before we go and have a look at the grid?
Sorry, mate. You just dropped out for 1 second.
I did.
Completely
I'm
missed
sorry.
that.
If it's not Lassif and it's not Ben, who wins tonight, in your opinion? Being a new track and all, there's a lot to play out.
Look, new track. It's definitely going to be a tough one to choose, mate. I've seen Rainer around here. He's loving the track. Was in a couple of sessions with him, just helping him dial in the car. He's definitely gelling with the track. So Rainer Costello, definitely one to look out for tonight. Lassith Leonage, though, he is a clean driver, ladies and gentlemen. So he's another one to look out for. Clean driving gets you positions around Hockenheim.
Indeed,
so
they do.
I'm definitely going to go. I reckon tonight, McNamara's up there. We haven't seen him at the pointy end of the field. In qualifying, let alone a couple races we've seen him in the green room with us and in the broadcast room. So I'm going to put money on McNamara tonight, and hopefully he can bring the 9-5 boys home.
All right, looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. Of course, McNamara hasn't had a win yet. Also important tonight, Cameron Jones buried down in 8th. He's had a couple of rough rounds in the first half of the season. He really needs to kick into gear and start getting top 3 results if he's going to be a contender when we get to Bathurst in what's going to be 8 or 9 weeks' time. Of course, June 8 is grand final night for season 1 of the NTS Super Series. Cars on the grid. Let's have a look at the grid now, if we've got time, because we're running short. Lassif Leonage, Sean McNamara, Cameron Veacock and Rainer Costello, 2nd row. Ben Morris, Alex Court, 3rd row. Ash Davis, Cameron Jones, 4th row. Robert Crisdale, Simon Vella, 5th row. David Kirby and Peter Crossingham, 6th row. Over the page. Let's go. 7th row, Jacob Brewer, Lindsay Hobbs. 8th row, Simon Chadwick, Alan Dawson. 9th row, Chris Island and Craig Schultz. 10th row, Brian Cooper and Tim Mulford. 11th row, Chris Barnes and Ben Siren. 12th row, Scott McCune and Blake Urquhart. 13th row is where you're going to find John Nikolaus and Sam Katagazinis. 14th row, Daniel Schultz, Craig Newell. 15th row, Steve Vella and Lee Davis. And, of course, Matt Davis in the E1 Sim Racing entry. He was only out there for the hot lap. And it's important to note that Lee Davis is in the safety car. And he actually got a run last week. It's been a while since he's had a run, but he got a run last week. So
he finally got a run. And it's a small field tonight, Zach.
A smaller field than usual. But they'll turn on the action all the same. We're ready to fire at the Hockenheimring. The first time the NTS Series is raced at the German venue. Off the line nicely. Conversion key. Leonage bolts to the front. He goes to the corner in the lead and takes McNamara with him. Veacock comes through as well. 2 and 3 wide further back in the pack as they make their way down for the first time to the trouble point of turn 2 and 3. Here they come. Nice clean getaway. Leonage, McNamara, Veacock. Then Morris caught up into 5th. Jones is going 2 spots early on, and he sits 6th. He's there side by side with Court. You see him in the back, a shot. Leonage clear. And a nice conversion off the line. It's always critical when you've got pole to convert it to trying to set, mount your ascendancy. Oh, no, trouble. Trouble. Benny Morris. Caught up in that. There's going to be all sorts of carnage back there at turn 6, the hairpin. Leonage is going to lead them out of there clear and comfortable. And then it's a long gap back to the rest. So we believe it was Alex Court that got a tap. Watch mid-pack there. Court on the inside, trying to defend his line. He's got a tap, all right, and he's straight into Benny Morris, and that's had a knock-on effect, as you can imagine. Cars going every way, which way, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if race control threw a safety car to just clean all of that up. But it looks like they haven't done as yet. So Lassif Leonage leads them away. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's have a look at big winners and losers in a moment, Matt. I was going to say it was important for Leonage to convert off the line to just what's the word I'm looking for, to gain that momentum and convert it and make sure that he sends the message to the rest of the pack that he's the man to beat tonight.
But it's looks like Sean McNamara is not letting him go. Macca in the 9.5 is glued to the rear wing of that ZB Commodore tonight, Zach, and he is not letting Leonage go whatsoever.
Just having a look at some of those big winners and losers you were talking about. Big winner, Chris Island, up 10 spots into 7th. Blake Urquhart up 15 spots into 9th, and Ben Siren up 12 spots into 10th. So they're the big winners inside the top 10 of line. McNamara's all over the back of Leonage. The pressure is being applied very, very fiercely in the early stages here. Then down the pack, 12 positions gained each for Newell and Vella, 16th and 17th respectively. Then the big losers. Ben Morris has lost 16 positions. Peter Crossingham has lost 13 positions. They're still trying to sort themselves out there at the hairpin. Another car running wide yet again. Simon Chadwick has dropped 14 positions as well. And our mates mentioned Rainer Costello. Well, he's dropped 9 positions, and he's down in 13th. But some big, big losses there in the early stages. The biggest one of all was Ben Morris, and we mentioned him as one to watch in the opening segment. It's now going to be a case of trying to fight his way back through and limit the damage done on that opening lap, and that's not going to be easy around here. Passing, overtaking opportunities, I should say, Matt, few and far between, and that's something we hadn't had a chance to touch on yet.
No, it's the few and far between. It looks few and far between, but Hockenheim provides interesting overtakes. Into safety car out on Lee Davis 2 weeks in a row. He is on fire. He's going for the hat trick. I wonder if next week he'll be able to get another drive in that beautiful Nationwide Tracking Systems supercar. Safety car
in the Corvette. Hey, next week obviously is the first of the Enduros. So if ever he's going to get his hat trick, I think next week's going to be the night. Don't worry about that.
Definitely timed it to perfection, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Just like a fine wine, just peaking at the right time. Look at that.
That's totally it. Back to overtakes as we were talking about. Hockenheim, as we go to a simsnap.com replay for the ladies and gentlemen at home, wherever they may be watching. Tanked SRT car, no bonnet, no front bumper, complete front end missing, and by the looks of it, he's pulled it off to the side with a blown motor.
So that'll explain why we got the caution, folks.
There we go. And but Hockenheim, Zach, it's an interesting one for overtaking moves. Definitely one to look out for is turn 2 and the hairpin, as Leonage goes wide and completely goes wide. Let's hope he doesn't do that at race pace. Definitely down into turn 2 and the hairpin. They're the 2 biggest overtaking moves you're going to be seeing tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But another one coming out into turn 3, 4, 5, trying to get it off the top of my head. I believe it's turn 7 or 8 through the right-hand sweeper before you come around to the very, very back section of the track through the S's there. That's another little spot where drivers can get the run. If the driver gets a poor run and just misses the apex, but the driver behind gets the good run, gets the apex, gets the power on nice and early, that gives them enough opportunity to catch a little bit of draft, get up on the inside, and put the nose there to push the driver wide. But then they've got to be careful. They've got to get through there nice and quickly so they can then cover the inside line so that driver doesn't do the over and under move on them.
Yeah. Ascendancy was the word I was looking for earlier as well. Get that ascendancy, get that momentum. I knew I was looking for an A word. Now let's have a look at this. Simon Chadwick, fastest lap of the race, 1:42.26, and he's 28. Just let that sink in for a moment. Pace car off, race back on. Brian Cooper, the one out of the race, he's in pit lane in 29th. Lee Davis completes his first lap of the night, and we're back to green. Leonage leads the field down towards turn 1. Nice restart. McNamara, Cock, and Jones go with him. Jones, the big mover early on here. I said he needed to have a good night at the office. And he's started again very, very nicely here. Sitting in position number 4 after starting 8th. He's the big mover in the opening stanza of this race. Alex Court, Robert Crisdale, Chris Island, then David Kirby, Blake Urquhart, and Ash Davis, the top 10. They make their way down the side chute for the first time. Actually, you can call it a back straight, but it's a sweeping back straight. It's a flat-out left-hander all the way with a couple of different apexes all the way down to turn 6 and the hairpin for the 4th time. So 30 laps to go. Move on further back of the pack. Blake Urquhart getting past David Kirby. The rest of the pack filters through unscathed. We've had a nice clean restart here at the Hockenheimring, the newest venue on the iRacing platform, delivering the goods already. is Steve Vella and Jacob Brewer arguing over the same piece of real estate as well. Vella 15th, Brewer 16th. Brewer a bit too deep into what is turn 8 there. But he gets out A-OK, no harm, no foul. And Matt, we said it last week, we'll say it again this week. We've had one safety car. That doesn't mean that we won't get another at some point down the track.
Safety cars breed safety cars, Zach.
Exactly right. Incident here for Dawson. Coming up towards turn 8. Just a little bit of hip and shoulder rub and nudge.
What I mean by that,
not much in that.
Into turn 7 and 8, you get that run through there. Some people have enough commitment to run it flat out, but coming into there, you can have a nice little battle. You can go into 7 and 8, into 9, into 10, and continue that battle on. So, as we got McNamara all over the back of Leonage at the moment, Zach, but it's definitely interesting around there. It's a tricky part of the track. There's a lot of high-speed corners, so it's definitely one to watch for overtakes. There's going to be a lot of drivers having a look tonight. Indeed,
there is. Leonage first, McNamara second at the moment. Not much separating there. McNamara, fastest lap of the race, 139.38 at this point. Lap 5 at 33, caught under tremendous pressure there at the moment. Chrisdale going through on the inside. Oh, Island goes round and into the wall. Island in the wall and a big cloud on the front end of the Commodore. But it looks as though he's going to be able to keep driving on. No harm, no foul. We get to play on, as they say.
Island there was extremely lucky. Zach, I don't know how that front end of that supercar does not have a single scratch on it. That is definitely an interesting one. As Rainer Costello goes up on the inside of Blake Urquhart. Rainer Costello is on a charge as Blake Urquhart gets back at him into turn 11.
Costello on the outside. Have a look at that. That's the long way around.
But he's on the inside for the next one. Blake Urquhart just lets him go. There we go. Hockenheim already producing the good, Zach, with some good overtaking moves.
That was ballsy for Rainer Costello. I'm only going to put it out there because he went around the outside at the hairpin at 12, and then through the chicane at 13, 14, he was on the outside for 13. So he made hard work of that overtaking opportunity, but he made it look like light work really in the end because he got the job done so comfortably. Now, down on the inside, Mulford getting pushed out wide there and then back up on the inside. Oh, geez, this is tight stuff here. So Mulford's got Lindsay Hobbs on his inside and he's got Simon Vella right behind him as well. But Mulford holds the line on the inside and should regain 12th under brakes down here to turn 6.
3 wide.
Why not? Why not?
3 wide into the hairpin.
Jeez. And Lindsay Hobbs is the big loser in all of that.
Is he going to get freight trained? Is he going to get freight trained? Island is having a look. No, Island's too far back. Lindsay Hobbs gets freight trained into the hairpin. Till Mulford just pulled through Prisdale with him.
Tim Mulford off circuit there. Now he's going to lose all the positions that he just gained. And Ireland around the outside gets the job done to go to 14th. Back to the front. Leonage has a freight train behind him. McNamara, Veacock, Jones and Chrisdale. The intensity at the front's interesting, but what's even more interesting for mine tonight, Matt, the critical numbers here. When you look at 33 laps, 14 to a stint, 14, 28 and 5, I don't think the guys are going to break it up that way. So you've got a couple of different ways that you can play it. You could pit now and then, continue on for another 14 laps and pit on lap 21, say, and then take on your new set of rubber. Or you can break it up and go 11, 11 and 12 or 12, 11 and, that sort of combination. Or you look at doing a long stint now, 14 laps, then a short stint. Have a look at McNamara all over the back of Leonage too. He's going to back out of it as they come down to the hairpin. And then and tyre options, because they've only got one fresh set up their sleeve in the lane here, as we see Alex Court get around Chrisdale, but run it wide on the exit. Can Chrisdale sneak back up on the inside? I don't know. I think Court's going to have the line up here, and he does, and he gets the job done. So how do you see it playing out, Matt? Because there's 3 or 4 different ways that you can play it. Bearing in mind, you got to be tactful about it and take your tyre wear into consideration here at some point as well.
Exactly right, and that's what I was just about to say before you mentioned it, is tyre wear. The guys out on track tonight, they're going to be feeling the car under them every lap as they go by, and they're going to judge it from there. Costello, we know he's one to take tyres in the second stop, so no doubtedly he won't be changing strategy. He will be taking tyres in the second stop. It's obviously working for him at the moment. Laz, I believe he likes to chop and change. Sometimes if he's not feeling right, the car's not feeling good for him in the first hit, he'll take the fresh tyres if he's burnt them up and then try and run the double stint. So that's another one to look out for. But in regards to laps, personally, I'm the long stinter. If the car's feeling great, I'm going to run as long as I can and run it on an oily rag right till I can get into the pits, and then put my very, very last stint on as less fuel as possible, on as fresh tyres as possible, but and run it home with some extremely fast qualifying times as Kirby goes up on the inside of the 9.5 Sim Sports.
Yeah.
Benny Siren. But Siren takes it back from him as McNamara still all over the back of Leonage, coming down into the hairpin. Does he get a good run out of here? Well, don't know. We'll have to wait and see, ladies and gentlemen. By the looks of it, he has got those Dunlop tyres gripped up. He's tucked under the rear wing of Leonage, right out through turns 5, I believe. Turn 7, sorry, coming into turn 8 and 9. Unfortunately, doesn't have a look, but he's still all over the back of him. But Vcox wanting to get into the mix as well as Jones. I'm one to run it on qualifying laps right down to the very, very last laps. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one to see. Tyres, we're in the morning, track temps low. It's going to be an interesting one to play out for the rest of the race, I reckon, Zach.
Yeah, you make a very good point. It's I think it's our first morning race of the season. We've had a lot of afternoon and early evening races. I think it might be our first morning race, is it?
I believe Montreal was morning.
Okay, Montreal was morning. Okay.
I believe, from memory, I believe Montreal was morning because I had an exceptional race that race, and
Chadwick, hip and shoulder there, the 3 of them. Look at that,
and
bang, gone.
Saw that one coming.
Absolutely, from a mile away. What's interesting too, Lassif Leonage, I don't know whether he's just sandbagging the pack here and just controlling and orchestrating this, Matt, because look at the margin. Look at this. McNamara now, fancy start. Straight down the inside. McNamara to the lead. Why not? Change of leader. First time tonight. McNamara leads for the first time this season in the opening stint of the race. He's had the lead on occasion when we've been in the pit sequence and pit cycles, but not in an outright fight. And that's what this is. McNamara, Leonage, Vcock, and Jones. And the great thing about it, before Leonage was overtaken there, Matt, is they were bringing the pack to them. So Vcock, Jones, they're latching onto the back. It's just a fact of they've got too much of a buffer between themselves and Alex Court now to make it a real dogfight. That's
exactly right. And what I was about to say, Zach, is that could have been a strategy play from Leonage as well. McNamara's been sitting behind Leonage the entire race since the very start, since that green flag dropped. And McNamara would have been saving a little bit of fuel behind Leonage, and Leonage might have gone, you know what? I'm going to sit behind you now. I'm going to save some fuel and start becoming the fuel-saving king and let you take me around Hockenheim for a change.
Yeah, why not? And, of course, Matt's already taken us around Hockenheim this evening, folks. If you missed that, oh, geez, you probably missed the best hot lap of the season. Ladies and gentlemen.
Hot lap of the season, you mean?
It was a bit similar to Brocky's 91 Bathurst lap, actually, in the shootout. It was all over the place, but you got the job done. It was entertaining. Cameron Jones in the pit lane. So too the 17th place car of Simon Vella. So they're both in the lane at the moment. Now, I'm not too sure why Jones was in the lane there because he's come back out on the track without stopping. Did he have a drive-through or some description?
For the
Cameron Jones. Wow.
Drive-through penalty for Alex, I reckon, contact on Alex Court.
And you know what? That's just a case of Jones' season going from bad to worse. We know that he had misfortune at Barber. Last week didn't go to plan, and now he really couldn't afford tonight, and that's exactly what's happened. So now it's a case of damage control for him as well, but there comes a point in time where he might have to start looking at the fact that it's just not going to be his championship.
Around
Whoa,
the outside.
Jeez! That was hairy.
But was there contact to push Ash Davis wide, or did Ash Davis run himself wide?
We'll get a replay, I'm sure, in a moment. But whatever the case may be, Davis looks like he's about to lose out to Kirby. Kirby's going to have a chance to get down on the inside. Here's what happened on the replay. So we're watching Davis here. No contact.
Ran himself a little bit too. A little bit of a wiggle.
Yeah, I reckon he's spooked himself when he's seen the car there of Urquhart in the side view mirror. And that I'll hazard a guess that's what it might have been. And David Kirby's been able to capitalise on that too. But Davis slips back to 10th behind Benny Siren now. And back to the front. McNamara has bolted 1 second down the road. Leonage, Vicock, Court, Crisdale, Costello, Urquhart, Kirby, Siren, Davis, Hobbs. Red top 11. Here comes Vicock. Here comes Leonage, Vicock to the inside, and Vicock goes to second. Leonage now relegated to third on the exit of turn 6. So McNamara, Vicock, and Leonage. Is this the night we see McNamara add his name to the winners list? Can Cameron Vicock get back up there? What can Leonage do? It's been an interesting start, but we're only a third of the way there, Matt.
Yeah, only a third of the way there. It's McNamara's bolted. It was action-packed at the start. Looks like everyone's finally sorted themselves out a little bit. Not too many battle packs going on throughout the field. There's a few reds and yellows on my timing board, but everyone's sort of just sitting behind one another and just getting the field that no one's seen, as Vicock has a big lock-up on the front left. But it's definitely one to... Everyone's seen everyone else in the field race on, tracks such as Oran Park and Mo Sport and tracks like such, but no one's actually seen or raced together at Hockenheim. So they're all getting the feel of one another. They're learning the lines. They're learning where they're going to take. Where are you clipping your apexes? Are you running wide out of turn 1, where most people will, just to try and get that extra bit of run down into turn 2. It's all trying to work each other out, I reckon. So everyone's just playing safe and just cruising on, I think.
Indeed. They make their way down towards turn 2 one more time. Freight train of cars here at the moment. That's the Excalibur entry. No, they're not battling. They're just happy to sit in and follow each other line of stern. That being said, if we get a safety car, 10 laps from home, all bets are off, because they'll be going every way, which way, and they'll be duking it out like you wouldn't believe. Down they go. Davis, Siren, side by side. David Kirby and Blake Urquhart just kissing the dirt there on the exit of 6 as well. Urquhart, Davis, Siren making up the top 10 at the moment, 8, 9, and 10. Lindsay Hobbs is 11th, Chris Ireland 12th, and Benny Morris back to 13th after that shocker of a start.
Big movers down the back of the field as well. So Craig Newell is up 10 positions from P28, so he's had a good race. But the biggest loser at the moment still is, I'm going to go scroll down the list, would be Simon Vella, down in 24th position. Started 10th, is now down in 24th, loss of 14 positions. And Jacob Brewer is down the back of the field now, down in 13th position, 26th position, down 13th, starting 13th.
The Craig Newell on screen there at the moment, sitting in 18th in the NTS entry. You are watching the NTS Hockenheim 150. If you're just joining us, first and only German round of the season. But as we've detailed already, this is the first of, I think it's 5 European rounds on the circuit, because you've got Donington, Silverstone, Spa, and Brands Hatch all to come as well. Next week, we go to our first and only South American stop of the season, with the Interlagos Grand Prix circuit in Sao Paulo, Brazil, playing host to the first Enduro of the season as well. About 250 kilometres worth of entertainment coming your way next Tuesday night And of course, let's not forget that after what you see here tonight, you're going to want to come back and join us tomorrow night as Robert Chrisdale has a move here on Reina Costello. Gee, side by side they go up to turn 8. And Costello holds on for the moment, but Chrisdale's there putting up a tremendous fight. After
He
what
loves the outside.
Oh, he certainly does. After what you see tonight,
loves
folks,
the outside.
you're going to want to come back and join us tomorrow night for the Goodyear Auto Kebarana V8 T2E series as well. Matty Davis and I are back with you tomorrow night from 8:20 Eastern Standard Time. 13 of 33, and Chrisdale sitting in 6th at the moment. Happy to follow Costello. First round of pit stops not too far away. Onto the main straight. McNamara, Veacock, Leonage. 14 of 33. So we mentioned that 14 was the critical number. If no one comes in this time round, it's looking pretty certain that the top 10 are going to come through. Watch pit lane this time round because I think it's going to get pretty busy.
David Kirby in pits. Chris Ireland in the pits. So 2 cars already. 3 cars in pit. Cameron Jones in the pits. 3 cars in the pit starting to make their first pit stop. So this will definitely light up on the radio channel in the drivers' heads. What will they do? They'll be having to run around on an oily rag at the moment, but have they been fuel saving in the meantime, Zach? That's the big question.
Exactly right. And has it been possible to fuel save? I mean, the pace at the front's been extraordinary thus far. But compare it with, like, I mean, if you compare it with qualifying, you look at the pole time here, 1:38.47 for Sean McNamara, 1:38.43 for Leonage. So he was the pole sitter. And then you look at the fastest lap of the race thus far from, I think McNamara's got one of them, 1:39.38. So they haven't been going at their 10 So you might be onto something there. They might just be able to eke out a 15th lap in this stint. But whatever the case may be, they've still got to come in again. That's the important part to note here.
That is the very important part, but it's also Hockenheim. There's enough draft or slipstream to be produced where you can roll out of that throttle 150 to 200 meters earlier. McNamara with a big slide onto the main straight,
and they're going around again.
So that answers our question, Zach. And it answers my point that I'm bringing up now. There's enough straights at Hockenheim that you're able to tuck in under the rear wing and roll off the throttle a bit earlier and brake that little bit later to save the juice and give you another, per se lap, as we can see here, as we've got Alex Cordin and Lindsay Hobbs is also in. Tim Mulford is now pitting in on my timing screen. So, but they've definitely saved enough fuel. We expected 14 laps. They've gone around another time, Zach.
Yeah, 14.47 I think I had on my calculator when I crunched the numbers there based on the numbers that came up on your race info sheet there at the start of the broadcast, folks. So they have to save at least half a lap somewhere along the way. And I reckon where they've saved it, and we forgot about this, we had one safety car lap. So I reckon they've all saved a lap under the safety car. So that's going to allow them to come in this time round. 6:23 is going to cop a drive through. The contact on the 393.
Chris Ireland.
So Chris Ireland is coming to pit lane after contact on the 393. And that's, my apologies, Simon Vella down there in 18th. So, yeah, if they've managed to save, one lap under safety car, which we all suspect they may well have, this should be in lap. And here it is. Here they come. Oh boy, pit lane is about to get very busy.
Leonage.
Costello to follow. Yep, everyone in. Look at them.
Everyone's
1, 2, 3, 4. The top 5 all on the road. And then it's a long gap, then back to Ash Davis, Blake Urquhart, Ben
long gap. 20 seconds.
And considering that they've only had, well, the restart was lap 4, so the safety car was lap 3. They've had 11 laps to really irk that out.
And that's there we go. Veacock, McNamara, and Leonage with tyres. Costello with tyres as well.
Now, that's surprising because normally Costello goes later in the race. But no, they're obviously feeling the pinch tonight.
They definitely are. It's obviously Hockenheim's providing a little bit of tyre wear. Veacock short field.
And that comes back to what I said.
Short field.
That comes back to what I said. the critical lap number on a full stint here, if you can get 14 laps to a tank, is going to be lap 19, the end of lap 19. So if he's short fueled, he's going to come in, around that 19, 20, 21 window and then do a long stint to the end. So he wants track position now. He's going to run with that. I can understand why. Interesting to note that, was it McNamara that, did McNamara go up on the jacks there? I didn't see.
Yes, all four of them. All four.
Yeah.
McNamara, Leonage, and McNamara, Leonage, Veacock, and Costello all up on jacks. So all on fresh rubber. But again, as you said, Zach, Veacock is short fueled, but McNamara looks like he's got some pace behind him. So he might be able to reel Veacock in, relatively quickly here, and actually save himself some fuel and make Veacock work to burn that fuel faster, and make Veacock pit that a bit earlier, take on some more fuel. McNamara stays out a little bit longer, quickly jumps in, has a splash and dash, races to the end. He might get track position at the end. Exactly.
The old up and under might work to his advantage. But see, this is the other interesting critical element here. I was a little bit surprised, given that Veacock's short fueled. I thought that he might have gone for tyres in the next stop. Short fuel now, do that. Oh, contact! Oh. Massive shunt in the background there. Ireland and Hobbs, I think it was. Massive carnage
into each other.
Let's have a look at this on replay. Will this trigger a safety car? Will they get them back to pit lane? Hobbs and Ireland. Whoa! Ireland just caught the curb, and it's thrown him in sideways to Hobbs, and bang! They're not getting out of there without a toe job, I wouldn't have thought. My goodness, that's a massive shunt.
It is a massive shunt.
That's probably the biggest shunt of the tournament so far.
Oh, they're both blind, both smoking, but it's not far back to the pits from here, Zach. So maybe they might be able to limp them back ever so slowly to the pits. So a safety car is not called, but those cars are definitely not going anywhere in a hurry.
Yeah, Hobbs is trying to drive it around the outside in the gravel trap.
Playing it safe.
That's just extraordinary. So they're both out. They're both gone. Forget about it. Park it. They're done. But will they get back to the line and save us the hassle of bunching the field back up? Although that being said, a safety car right now would have all sorts of implications as far as this race is concerned. Hobbs is going to get it back to the lane. He's done a marvellous job. And I think Urquhart had already got it back to the lane, so that's okay. We continue on. Whoa, massive moment there for Jones. But again, no harm, no foul. Sorry, my apologies. Ireland, not Urquhart. Yes, you're right. No, good point. Geez, that much going on out there. There's much
going on. We didn't have much at the start of the race, Zach. We sort of had a very nice, relaxed broadcast at the start. And it was
we had a very cruisy run just to ease our way into it, didn't we?
Yeah, we could sat back with a beer and just relax, but it's all turned on after the pit stops.
But yeah, what we were talking about with Cameron Veacock before that incident unfolded was the potential to short fuel that second run and then do tyres and fuel on lap 19, 20 to get your 14 lap run home. And it doesn't appear to me as though many people have gone for that option. There are a couple, including Simon Vella. Simon Vella, I don't think, has taken on any tyres in his first stop, 13.38 seconds. Chris Barnes as well, but they're not in the equation here. Of the race contenders, everyone went in and took the rubber on lap 15, I should say.
They did, and I thought of another, actually, while you've just been chatting there, Zach, I thought of another strategy that the drivers could have played out here, and potentially they could have gone for the 14, 15 lapper stint, come in, done a little bit of a short fuel, get there, I believe it worked out, we did a 14, 14 and 5, I believe it was. It would have got them to the end. So they could have come in, put 6, maybe 7 laps worth of juice in, and on used tyres already, go out, burn that fuel up, burn the rest of those tyres, come in, bang a fresh set of tyres on, bang some fresh fuel in, and make it home to the end. And yes, you may have been down the order a fair bit, but you may have had a clean air and clean track in front of you, no drivers to compete with, no drivers to battle with, no one rubbing up on your rear bar and pushing you. And then you can wait till the other drivers pit stop and do the big undercut and
Yep.
come right round him on the outside.
Exactly. Oh, fascinating strategy at play here at the moment. 19 of 33, Vicock, McNamara, Leonage, Court, Costello, the top 5, and Crisdale not too far behind. Ben Morris has still got himself up in 7th spot after all of that, but we don't have a safety car. That's the important thing to note. After that massive shunt a few moments ago for Lindsay Hobbs, no safety car out of that. So both the drivers were able to limp the cars back to pit lane out of harm's way, which was really good to see. 19 of 33.
Lindsay Hobbs, Chris Islands, Steve Vella is out on, I believe. No, Steve Vella's out on track. Simon Chadwick and Brian Cooper are retirements from this race by the looks of it, Zach.
Copy that. So there's been a fair attrition rate tonight.
It's a small field to start with. We only had 30 cars, 29 cars. Sorry, I'll exclude myself from that one. I was only there for a hot lap.
Yep.
Lee Davis has obviously clicked over a lap in the safety car. Good on him finally. And but 29 cars, so usually getting fields of close to 40 for the Tuesday night races here, Zach. So it's maybe Hockenheim isn't a favourite to some. I know there's a couple drivers who couldn't make it. Dean Powell, one of them. He let us know earlier in the week. So g'day, Dean. Hope you're watching wherever you are tonight. But obviously Dean's not with us tonight. But definitely a small field. Only 24 cars out on track at the moment. 25.
Interesting to note too. It was just reiterated to me that based on current standings, Laz will still win the round because he picks up the bonus points for pole position. So if he stays third and things stay as they are, he'll still have the round. So I mean that's quite an important thing to note as well. But Lassif Leonage's dominance extends well beyond just race wins. It's also those pole positions that are racking up nicely for him as well. 20 of 33. You're watching McNamara on screen at the moment trying to track down Vicock and doing a nice job of it as well. 1.6 seconds the margin. Just got a bit of the fan club messaging in at this point in time as well on the SimShed Broadcasting Facebook page. Hello to you too, Matthew Hill. Thanks for the shout out. There's the track and weather conditions for you folks on screen there. 18 degrees ambient, 24 on track, 53% humidity, so that's a little bit high. And a very clear, nice day there at the Hockenheimring. 17 kilometres an hour, so those winds have dropped from where they were at the start of the race. And we've reached 10:42 in the morning. Just going back to Matthew Hill for a moment, I'll very much enjoy the couple of JD and Colas that you left in my fridge here back in February, mate. I haven't got round to them yet, but they've been sitting there just nice and icy, ready for the right moment, and I appreciate that. I'll square it up the account when I'm down in Maitland next. Lap 20 of 33 as we continue Tuesday Night Motorsport here on SimShed Broadcasting, wherever you're tuning in around Australia. And Cameron Vicock, Lassif Leonage in the lane. Lassif Leonage in the lane. Here we go. First to the final round of pit stops. Rainer Costello follows him in as well. So these are the boys that have decided, let's fuel her up and get home. And I can't imagine that Cameron Vicock will be too far away.
And what did I tell you, Zach? Take the tyres. Take the less amount of fuel. They might have fueled right up to the brim, but now they're coming in and just doing a quick splash and dash. We'll monitor how long they've been up for. 3 seconds, 4 seconds, bang, down off the jacks they go, out the pit lane. So there we are. There's that short pit stop strategy that I was talking about.
Yep, and it works both ways because, as I say, Vicock won't be too far away either. Then McNamara and Court, that'll be the next point of interest, what they decide to do. Crisdale, Morris there, 4 and 5. Jones is 6th. Rubbed out of tonight's proceedings with that drive-through penalty. You're wondering where Chris Kisby is? So are we, ladies and gentlemen. To be fair, Kisby's nowhere to be seen at the moment, but we wish him all the best, and I'm sure he'll be back with us next Tuesday night. He's been a bit busy of late, as you know. He's normally based in Tassie. He's been up here with his father, who's not 100%. So he's up here in Queensland looking after him at the moment. So I'm assuming that's what's got him occupied this evening. And now our thoughts are with him very much. So Vicock and McNamara in the lane. So here we go. the top up and get home. But this is interesting because Veacock's short-fueled. We know that. So McNamara right now, watch that pit lane, Matty Davis. McNamara could be about to inherit the lead until we see how it balances out with Leonage and co when they come through. And, of course, Court's yet to stop a second time as well.
Both in the box as we speak. They're in their pit lane. McNamara, we'll see what time the counter stops. McNamara, 9.27 7 seconds. Veacock, 12.9 seconds. Veacock, a total of 3.5 seconds lower than McNamara.
So McNamara has track position. And there's Leonage as well. So Leonage, yeah, wow. Leonage has been held up by traffic here, so Leonage is out of business as far as this race is concerned. Look at the gap. Look at the gap. It's astronomical. That's what lap traffic or back marker traffic or slower traffic can do to you. Leonage needs clear air now. Massive lockup from Veacock. Well spotted by Matty Davis. Down they go to turn 6. Now Leonage has clear air. But look at it. It's extraordinary. He's 3 seconds behind Veacock. I don't care how good you are. When your competition's as evenly matched as the likes of Veacock and McNamara are, add Jones and a few others into that fight as well, it's going to be an uphill battle for Leonage to fight back into this now. Matty needs something to go wrong for the likes of, as we see, Court come into the lane. Alex Court in the lane. He's going to fuel up and get home now. Chris Dale's followed him in as well. Will Benny Morris go too? No, Benny Morris goes on to continue as the race leader. He'll take the lead, but the effective race leader at this point in time is Sean McNamara. There's a lot to try and dissect in all of this at the moment, folks. We'll do our best for you. Lap 23 of 33, final third of the race. 11 laps to go. Morris, the leader. Jones, second. But they are yet to stop. Court and Crisdale in the lane. McNamara comes through as the effective race leader. Veacock, Urquhart follows, but Urquhart yet to stop a second time as well. Leonage now buried back there in 6th. And the margin to Veacock is somewhere in the vicinity of 4 seconds. And then McNamara further up the road again. And it's 3.5 from McNamara to Veacock. So this is McNamara's to lose now. And that just goes to show that now, if you're Lassif Leonage, yes, third outright, still a good result as far as the championship's concerned. And he'll probably still get the round when you take in the 5 points for, or take it into consideration rather than the bonus points for pole position. But he now needs something to go drastically wrong for McNamara or Veacock by way of being balked by lap traffic or back marker traffic or whatever the case may be, or a mistake, unlikely given the way they've driven so far, to get back into this. But this is really split and divided the field in a way that we probably wouldn't have liked to see, Matt, unless we get a safety car to bunch things up again.
Safety car is the only thing that can bring everybody back together, bring Leonage, bring Costello back up into the fight for the lead. As we're on screen with Benny Morris at the moment, our race leader. Cam Jones not far behind him, only 7 seconds, but he's had a poor race tonight, Zach, with that drive-through penalty. I no doubtedly be thinking Leonage will be wanting that safety car. He'd be screaming in that helmet. Jones is now in the pit. He'd be, but as I was saying, he'd be screaming under that helmet at that and cursing at that lapped, or not lapped traffic, but the just normal race traffic that were in front of him. So he's plucked out at probably the worst part of the field you could probably pop out in.
So, looking at lap times at the moment, McNamara, 39.38 last is his best, 39.8 last time by the line. Veacock, 40.0 and 39.56 is his best. Last time by the line for Leonage, 39.89, 39.6 is his best. So Leonage is in the ballpark. Everyone else is a little bit slower than what they have been throughout the course of the night. So we'll wait and see what he can do when he's in clear air, of course. Schultz is 6th. Costello, Crisdale, Newell and Jones make up the top 10 at the moment. We've got our eyes on Morris. We've got our eyes on Schultz. And we've got our eyes on Newell. They are the 3 in the top 10 that have not yet stopped a second time. McNamara, the effective race leader, and comfortably so. 2.8 seconds to Veacock. Another 2.9 then back to Leonage. So, yes, this race is not throwing up the fireworks that we expected it to at the back end of town, but it certainly was feisty in the middle, and that was good to see. Here's Ben Morris. I'd say he's coming in. Yep. Pinched the brakes, slid the car, directs it into the pit lane, and away he goes. So, Ben Morris, that's him out of the equation. Nice. Now we focus on McNamara. He comes round as the race leader to start lap 25. 9 to go at Hockenheim. And McNamara has not won a race yet so far this season. I think we've got 5 different race winners so far this year so far, Matt, this season rather. I think we're about to get number 6.
Yeah, I was counting those race winners earlier, and I wasn't sure if it was 6 or 5 or 6 race winners, but you just confirmed it for me for the 5th different winner. So it's only McNamara's race losers. Alex Court goes fastest lap of the race with a 1:39.31, Zach. So Alex Court is on fire, and he's chasing down his teammate, Lassus Leonage. Last time around, Leonage was only a 1:39.9, so that is an interesting one to see as well. Veacock with a 1:39.57, 1:39.97 by McNamara, and Costello down in 6th position there, soon to be promoted up to 5th once Schultz pits with a 1:40.07. So maybe a little bit of damage for Costello from the contact at the start of the race a little bit earlier on.
So you can see on the right-hand side of the totem pole, which is on the left-hand side of your screen, if you can make sense of that, that the margins are showing there for you. So you get an indication that we've got 21 cars on the lead lap at this point in time. I can't imagine that that'll stay that way for too much longer with the 0-2 entry due to go a lap down any tick of the clock. But at the moment, this is where our focus lies. The 208 is on screen there and now being passed down on the inside. So Crisdale and Schultz and Costello. Costello on the inside of Schultz, and job done. So that's very nicely done from Rayner into the top 5. Alex Court fastest lap of the race, 1:39.31 at this point in time. McNamara across the line. Veacock second, 2.1 now the margin. And Leonage is another 3.7 down the road, but he knows that at the moment that's good enough. That 3rd place is good enough to win the round based on the fact that he gets the 5 bonus points for pole position.
Yeah,
so just going back through. Sorry, Matty. Veacock's won a race so far. Leonage has won a race. Costello's won a race. Jones has won a race, and I'm sure there's another that I'm missing there. So I apologise. Of course, didn't. Was it Tom Heyman that got up at Barber?
Yes, it was Tommy Heyman. So 5. So this will be a 6 different race winner. I was right.
Yeah. Yep.
I was right. Yep.
Yeah. I knew there had been 5 already. I was like, hang on, I can see 4. Where's the 5th? Tom Heyman was the 5th, and it was way back at the start of the season. So,
yeah.
No, you are right. It'll be 6 tonight, and I had the same number. I just couldn't figure out how I'd got there. So 26 of 33. We make good mathematicians here. Don't worry about that. As they make their way around, we're watching Blake Urquhart at the moment, trying to fight his way back through. Here he goes up on the inside of Simon Vella, and job done. That's for 14th. Whoa, not anymore, because he's locked it up. And now all the hard work begins all over again.
Probably locked him up at probably one of the good spots of the track. He came out wide off the hairpin, but he's got a good run down the straight. So he's obviously going a couple Ks faster than Vella in front of him. But it doesn't really show on screen. So obviously a little bit of wheel speed taken off out of the hairpin. There's a big slide coming out of turn 9 there, coming into turn 10. So not sure if Urquhart's taken tyres or not. With the way the car characteristics are going, as we're on screen with Chris Barnes now in the SRT entry, the way the characteristics of the cars for Urquhart, it's not looking like to me he's taken tyres in the first stops, and he might be coming in, taking his second stop. Yes, so he might have taken tyres in the first stop. I think, Zach, its tyres are starting to peel away from him.
Yeah, not a bad observation there from you, Matt.
Chris Barnes, as a driver, that's what it's good for. Got to watch the car characteristics.
Alan Dawson just ahead of him at the moment. So despite the fact that the pointing out of town is pretty well sorted out, there's still some battles. Simon Vella and Blake Urquhart still fighting over 14th. Tim Mulford's under tremendous pressure here at the moment from Alan Dawson and Chris Barnes. Chris Barnes sitting 18th. So three-way fight for 16th at the moment, and not much else to report outside of that. John Nikolaus is a lap down, as is Jacob Brewer. And Daniel Schultz. Ash Davis is not far off going a lap down. He'll be the next one. So Chris Barnes sitting there in 18th at the moment, trying to find a way through. But it's proving tricky. It's proving challenging at this point in time. Dawson and Mulford doing a nice job.
So obviously Hockenheim's not gelling with some drivers as Mulford locks up the inside left there, coming into turn 11. Oh, I've lost my bearings already around here looking backwards. It's not a fun sight to do and try and commentate. It gets a little bit seasick. There it is, 10, yep. So a little bit of lock up there by Mulford, but I now forgot what I was saying because I was too busy trying to get over the motion.
Work out what numbers? Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Oh, it's an interesting one. It's like sitting backwards in a speedboat, Zach. It's all good, all well and good when you're putting out of the 5-knot zone, but once you get up to 110, 120 mile an hour and you're looking backwards, it's not interesting at all.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been in the back of a speedboat, but loved it all the same. 28 of 33. McNamara, the leader and dominant. Veacock trying to close in, doing a nice job of trying to close the gap. Leonage is a distant third, but he's doing what he needs to do to maintain his championship lead. That's not in any threat at the moment. No, that's not in any danger whatsoever. Been a great race tonight. We're heading towards, well, this will be done in sub 60 minutes yet again, which is 45. Not really a surprise.
45 minutes I calculated.
Yeah, it's been a very fast race thus far. 47.38 last time by the line. And that's, obviously, we lost a little bit of time with the safety car there. So that's right. So there'll be 5 laps to go. So we'll be heading towards that 56, 57-minute mark. So the races this year, they've been ferocious and fierce. And I think might have only been Long Beach that's gone over the 60-minute mark. So it's been really good stuff. 29 of 33, Sean McNamara, the leader. Can Veacock do anything? He's continually chipping away at the gap, chopping it down in small little doses, taking inches and millimeters out of it every single lap. It's down to 1.56. Has he got enough in the tank? Has he got anything left to give? Can he close that 1.5 seconds and have a crack at McNamara on the last lap? We could be in for a grandstand finish here.
We might be in for a grandstand finish. McNamara, though, now just pulled out coming into the hairpins, just now pulled out to just under 2 seconds. So it might be managing it back to Veacock. He might be saving some fuel, saving some tyres. I know McNamara is a very, very talented driver. He is a championship winner. And obviously championship winners only earn that by having excellent driving, as we know with Lasseth Leonage. So he's just holding Veacock back there, and Veacock may have used up his tyres already as well, Zach. So something to look out for as he runs wide coming down into the second hairpin.
Indeed he does. So that's going to cost him a little bit of time there. And we've got Blake Urquhart in trouble behind scenes as well, I think it might be. Let's have a look at this on the SimSnap.com iRacing photography replay. Down towards the hairpin, rather. Locked it up big time. Missed the brake marker. Luckily for the runoff area there, he missed the grass completely, but it's going to lose a lot of time in all of that, and the hard work begins all over again.
It does. It doesn't. A little bit unfortunate for Urquhart there. As we saw from my hot lap, completely missed the brake marker, only by a couple meters, maybe a meter. But that's Urquhart there missed it by a complete football field. So definitely thankful for the runoff area down there into the hairpin.
Nationwide Tracking Systems, Hockenheim 150, closing stages. We are on lap 30. We've got Chris Barnes in 16th, applying the blowtorch to Tim Mulford in 15th. Behind them, of course, is Alan Dawson and Peter Crossingham. And Crossingham's got Craig Newell as well along for the ride there. So a lot happening out there at this point in time. Sam Katakazinas has had a great run tonight. He's got good pressure mounting from Ben Siren and also Simon Vella. There he is in 10th. So the big movers tonight, Katakazinas up 16 spots, Ben Siren up 11. They're 10th and 11th respectively. Urquhart up from 24th to 13th. And then Craig Newell up 9 places from 28th to 9th. A lot of big losers in all of that, but if we focus on the winners, few and far between in terms of big positions gained. I tell you what, that was lucky for Blake Urquhart. The corner arrived when it did. My goodness, that could have been very, very nasty for the number 7.
Definitely very nasty. Again, lucky to be able to pull that. He's in the Mustang, so lucky to be able to pull the Mustang up. I've banged panels with Urquhart a few times, and he's a good racer. So it's a little bit unfortunate to see him a little bit, should I say dicey out in the field tonight. Look, I'm going to say it is down to tyre wear. He obviously hasn't rolled his brake bias back. I've just got word in the back of my ears. Sorry, JP. What was that? Yes, it's with obviously open setups as well, Zach. It's unlike the fixed setups. It's fixed setups. You can only play with the brake bias as Sam Katakazinas jumps down into pit lane. So I wonder what's going on there. Maybe going for that quick splash and dash, might have underfueled himself. But
what? Yeah.
With the fixed setups, you can only play with your brake bias. You can't play with the anti-roll bars. You can't play with the front. You can't play with the rear. With the open setups, however, you've got the opportunity to play with your roll bars. As Blake Urquhart has another look down up inside of Vela, and this time makes it stick. Runs it a little bit wide. Vela up around the outside. Doesn't make it stick, but tucks in under the rear wing, and it's a drag race down under the hairpin, ladies and gentlemen, with Blake Urquhart and Simon Vela. Down they go. Vela under the rear wing, pops to the outside, shows the nose to Blake, and doesn't get it done. Just pops back in behind and says, "No, I'm defeated. I'll just follow you round to the end." But with the open setups, Zach, you can play with your anti-roll bars and adjust them to allow your car to behave how you want it to behave as the tyre wears off. If it's grip it up a little bit too much for you and you don't want to use as much tyre, I tend to stiffen it up just a little bit so it doesn't roll as much through the corner and labour the tyres. It does tend to slide a little bit more, but it's actually more manageable. Once you start coming down, you want to start dropping the rear of the car, the roll bar down for the car as you lose weight. Soften up the rear of the car, stiffen up the front a little bit so the front doesn't pitch too much and dip on that, dig in on the split as you come in through the corners and hard on the brakes. And that's a big one around Hockenheim, is it's big braking areas. You're going to be on that front splitter a lot.
The Barnes has cleared Mulford and Dawson, but they continue their duel at the moment. That's them there in 16th and 15th, respectively. Mulford has the advantage over Dawson at this point in time. Dawson in the 062 there. They come round onto the main straight. 2 laps to go for them this time by a lap and a half to go for our leader in McNamara. 1.2 the margin to Veacock. So, yes, he continues to chip away, but not by enough. Nowhere near enough for Veacock to be a threat on this last lap. They should all be good on fuel. We know that. They pitted on lap 21. 9.2 was the fuel for McNamara. Veacock 12.9, but Veacock short-fueled himself in the first stint. And that could be what cost him in the end here.
Maybe he might have overfueled himself by, if he had maybe only chucked in a second less worth of fuel. That might have actually helped Veacock here. He might have been able to tuck under the rear wing of Macca and get the toe around and make a move coming into these dying laps now. But everyone has spaced out throughout the field. There is not a single battle pack going around. Urquhart's out on Siren, Dawson on Mulford, Newell on Crossingham. They're the only 3 battles going throughout the pack for the remaining last lap of the Hockenheim 150, or should I say the Hockey 350. 150, sorry. 350. That's going to be a long race, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Final lap indeed. Hockey 150. I kind of feel as though we need a couple of goalies. And as soon as you said hockey, I was like, hang on. Field or ice? No, Sean McNamara, Cameron Veacock, Lassif Leonage. Looks like it's going to be the finishing order. It's been looking that way for about 11 laps now. Veacock has put up a good fight, but it's not going to be enough to beat McNamara tonight. We are going to have our 6th different race winner of the NTS series. What a performance this has been. McNamara didn't look like a huge threat in the opening stint. He was just happy to sit in there with Lassif Leonage. He played a brilliant tactical game and converted on the opportunity when it was presented to him, and it was helped by the fact that Leonage got balked terribly, horrendously, in fact, by backmarker traffic in that second stint there. So McNamara brings it into the stadium section for the last time. Round 9 of the championship, and a round that'll be talked about for a long while to come. It's the last of the sprint rounds before we get stuck into our first enduro next Tuesday night. And Sean McNamara is going to put the 951 onto the top step of the podium. And what a performance this has been. 6th different winner in 9 race meetings to start the year. McNamara wins in Germany.
Take a bell, McNamara.
Cameron Veacock home for second, 1.3 rather the margin in the end. Lassif Leonage third, and that'll be the round with those 5 bonus points for pole position. Alex Court brings it home in 4th, and then Rainer Costello will be 5th. Robert Christall's a long way back in position number 6. Then Ben Morris, after a drive-through early on. Oh, sorry, not a drive-through. It was Jones that got the drive-through. He's going to come home 8th. Morris, of course, got turned around on the opening lap, was down in the mid-20s. He fought back to 7th. Great performance from him. Jones in for 8th. Then David Kirby and Benny Siren will make up the top 10 here. There are your top 3.
How's that for a photo?
3 abreast on the way down to the hairpin. Great photo opportunity indeed if the photographers are standing by there at simsnapiRacing.com photography. Magnificent race. And Sean McNamara, a worthy winner. I mean, we've had 10 races to start the season, 9 race meetings, 6 different race winners now. And no reason why we won't add to that list in the next 8 weeks of competition, Matt. But that was just cruisy for McNamara. It looked like he worked hard in the opening stint, and that made light work for him in the second and third stint.
It didn't look like McNamara broke a sweat at all. We'll find out once he jumps up into the booth with us. But it looked like he just had a night in the office and an easy one at it. It didn't push hard. He wasn't really too racy. He was racy at the start with Leonage to get that track position out the front. But once he had it, he knew from there on, I reckon, that he was definitely going to be taking out the race win tonight.
Sean McNamara for the 9.5 Sim Sports franchise gets the job done. He was the Season 2 NTS champ last year, and he's bringing some of that form back to the fore in Season 1 of 2021. And, of course, I was having a chat off air last week. It looks like we are going to have another 3 seasons in 2021. So this one and 2 more, but the other 2 will be shorter considerably than the 17 weeks we're punching out for season number 1. Just begs the question, what venues make the cut for the next 2 seasons? Fantastic performance tonight, as we usually do. We didn't get a chance to crank it up tonight. There was too much happening. Crank it up now and enjoy this, the fireworks and the burnout display from Sean McNamara.
Talk about having some fuel left over, Zach.
I was going to say, yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's the one. That's the benchmark. That's the best burnout display we've seen so far this season. McNamara from Veacock, Leonage, Court, Costello, Christall, Morris, Jones, Kirby, and Sara in the top 10. Big margins, first all the way back through 10th, 51 seconds. In fact, only the top 18 on the lead lap at the end of the race tonight. Urquhart, Vella, Barnes, Dawson, Mulford, and then Crossingham, Newell, Catechesinas, Brewer, and Nicolau. Davis, Schultz, McCune, Schultz, then the retirements. Hobbs, Island, Vella, Chadwick, and Cooper. Forget about position number 30 there. He was a non-starter in all of that. So was his teammate in the safety car. Hey, good stuff, as per usual. Really good racing. And that's exactly the point that you made, Matt, there as soon as we come in after the burnout. That's the first time we've seen any sort of decent fuel left over by any of these drivers, because last week, if you recall, and old mate will confirm it because he's now in the booth with us, lads had about 3 seconds worth of burn out and it was all over. The fuel was gone. Our race winners and podium are joining us now in the chat room here to dissect what was an awesome night at the office. Round 9 of the championship, halfway mark, 8 down, now 9 down, 8 to go. And we've got plenty of time to sit here and explore with these guys over the next 3/4 of an hour or so exactly what unfolded across the course of what was an excellent debut for the Hockenheim venue on the NTS Super Series schedule. Before we get to that, however, I just want to give these guys a little bit of a plug, and it is our loyal, ongoing supporters and sponsors that make this possible for you, folks, before we get Sean McNamara in here for a little bit of a chat. But first up, Nationwide Tracking Systems, Racecraft Simulations, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, Hybrid Racing Simulators, TJM Parramatta, Dragon RC, and also Abruzzi. And track cams for Gourmet set up the track cameras that you saw for us here tonight. And of course, Melbourne Hydrographics Depot, the naming rights sponsor of the Triple Crown. And of course, the Triple Crown returns in a couple of weeks as well. Gentlemen, welcome. Let's start with the race winner, Sean McNamara. Well, what about that? You've finally got a win on the board, mate. So that must be nice to get the monkey off the back.
It's funny you say monkey. Yeah, absolutely. Stoked. To be honest, it's been a pretty average year for me outside of the sim world, and life's kind of getting back on track, and it feels really, it's only sim racing, yeah, but we all take it pretty seriously. It feels really nice to get a solid win tonight. So stoked, and well done to Cam and Laz as well for bringing it home, P2 and 3. But yeah, absolutely beaming right now, mate.
And so you should be, mate. Here's a replay of the start. I just caught a comment in the chat thread here on Discord, because the notifications are popping up all over the place, about a little bit of patience on lap 1. You'll see what we're talking about. You be the judge for yourself, and I'll get Matt Davis' thoughts on this in just a moment. But Sean, that was a clinical performance from you, mate. It was trouble free. It was one of those quiet achiever sort of moments, if I can put it that way, because you tucked in there, you fired lows through the first stint, and then it was just different pit stop numbers and strategy that worked in your favour in the second stint, in the sense that you had to short fuel at the second stint, whereas old mate Cameron Veacock had to long fuel, and then the lads got balked in traffic trying the undercut strategy. So all the pieces of the puzzle suddenly worked in your favour, and you ended up having a 3.5-second lead, and you were able to cruise the last stint.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful strategy, to be honest with you, mate. But no, look, I think in that opening stint, I learned from Laz last week. His fuel saving last week, not just winning the race, but winning the race convincingly. So I put a bit of time into this week, just trying to save a bit of fuel. And that opening stint, I think Laz was rolling out, saving a bit of fuel, maybe hoping I would go past a bit earlier, but I just wanted to sit until that lap 5-6 mark, and I thought once I get to there, I reckon I could drop the hammer and get on with it, and it worked okay. And then obviously, Cam, I don't know if he short filled in that first stop, but I thought I'll take everything on board, and Laz cut me a lap early. I was going to come in a couple of laps after, but he went early for tyres and fuel at the end there, and I thought I needed to jump in, and jumped out in the lead and got on with it. It was it was pretty good. But it's like I said before, it was patience in that first stint. I think the top 4 were just playing it pretty safe there, and it was good.
You meant stay with me. Plenty to chat about with you as the evening goes on here. Let me bring in Cameron Veacock and Lassif Leonards now, because you've mentioned the two key things here, Sean, in the sense that it was about strategy and it was about tyres and fuel. Cameron Veacock, question is, how short did you fuel yourself on the second stint, and did that compromise your second pit stop, please?
No, so actually that was my strategy all along, was to try and dive in a bit earlier than the other boys, to try and get a bit of short fuel in, because I worked out that if you burn on a fuel lap, 11 laps would get you home based on a tank of fuel. So if I came in 2 laps earlier than everybody else, I would have got there. But what happened was my calculator actually overfueled me. I ended up having 3.5 laps of fuel by the end of the race.
So basically, if you weren't overfueled, you might have actually been able to have a serious crack at it there.
Definitely. Well, 3.5 laps worth of extra fuel is about 12 liters of extra fuel. So,
About how many seconds did that cost you in the pit stop?
would have cost me 4 or 5 at least.
Yeah, okay. So that explains exactly where Sean was able to get away. No doubt about that. Stay with me, mate. Lasse Leonage. We mentioned tyres and fuel there when we were talking to Sean. It looked like the top 4 all went for tyres early. Was that the strategy that you were hoping to play?
I went for tyres in the second one.
You went for tyres in the second one?
Yeah. Well, first of all, well done, Sean. First win of the season, mate, and Cam, second place. I had a whole lot of issues with my knee. I was struggling after about 10 laps because this track is very hard on the brakes coming into the hairpin, and I could not get the pressure that I wanted coming in, so I was losing a bit of time here and there. I've had a knee operation years ago, and it's still not 100%. So from time to time, it flares up, and this week I put in a fair bit of time into the sim, trying to get this track started out and the setup sorted, which worked in quali. But I think I just burned myself out a little bit trying to keep up with these guys. But yeah, after that, I didn't really have a clear head, so I mixed up my fuel numbers a little bit. Got stuck in traffic. Things didn't really go the way I planned it, but good to be on the podium though. Get some points.
Well, if it's any consolation, mate, you win the round by 1 solitary point because you got pole position, and that's the 5 bonus points. No one got a clean race tonight. No 0 X's across the board. So away went that potential extra bonus points there. So on the basis, yes, exactly. on the basis. on the basis of 5 bonus points for pole position, Laz wins the round by a solitary point. So it's another round win for the number 1. The consistency just keeps climbing here, and the numbers keep racking. So Matt, it's interesting, isn't it? When we were looking at the first round of pit stops, and we thought everyone was going to be up on the jacks, getting tyres, getting fuel. Laz went tyres second stop. So he did the strategy that we thought someone might play with, and that is go for the tyres in the second stop, have a shorter second stint in order to make that third stint longer and make use of the fresher rubber.
Yeah, it's definitely Laz did that. And I mentioned it, and not even laps later, the first pit stops of that short stint came in. So we did see Laz Macca and Costello and Vicock jump up onto the jacks there. We all thought, and we said it in the booth, we all thought they took tyres, but obviously iRacing's changed something in the visuals there and puts everyone up on jacks even though they need to be fueled. But definitely interesting. But another interesting one tonight is the question for Cam is, I've been sent a message and also seen the iRacing server, a big race for you tonight, mate, and an extremely lucky one. 1 point away from getting the drive-through from too many incident points. Running it a bit wide there to try and catch Macca in the end, was it? Or
so what actually happened was early on, I managed to clip one of the curbs, and at that point it was just like, well, I'm going to start using everything I can, and I was getting off tracks at very, very unusual points. It wasn't the regular ones where you think you get them like at turn 1 or those ones. It was around the back coming out of the hairpin, or one of those sort of ones where it's low down, and I just couldn't understand why I was getting them there.
Yeah, I did notice you ran wide a couple times coming through turn 10 there, or I believe it's turn 10, 11, the third gear right-hander there before you come into the second hairpin there. So that's it's another big one that I've noticed around Hockenheim, is that one actually catches you out quite a bit. And another big talking point tonight as well, Zach, is the clean racer of our championship, Leonage. He's Laz has copped three incident points.
You know what the funny thing is? I was behind the safety car, and I was clutching at the hairpin. I rolled the car too much, and I got it off track. And after
that answers our question then.
we saw that. We saw you run about 3 meters wide out of turn 6.
Clutching, trying to save some fuel.
Well, it clearly worked for you because everyone was able to stretch that first stint to 15 laps. Great performance tonight, boys. I mean, let's start with. I'll go around the room here. Let's start with Sean, and then we'll go to Laz and Cameron in that order. What'd you make of the new circuit, boys? Did it live up to the hype?
Yeah, look, it's a great track. It is really good fun to drive. It's a bit of a challenging one, but once you get your flow and your muscle memory locked in, it's really good fun. It's not easy to put a lap together. So, yeah, love it.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really like the track right from the start. I really had to dig deep and get the setup right and get the driving right to get up the front. So, yeah, I'd like to forget this and move on.
Cameron?
Yeah, look, it's one of those tracks that has a bit of everything. It has a lot of high speed, but then you've got those really, really hard braking zones. So it's actually really hard to try and get something to set up to combat both, I guess. But we got there in the end, and go to show.
Yeah, hey, another sub-hour race for you tonight, gentlemen. 57 minutes 41.525, the race-winning time for Sean McNamara, as he beat Cameron Veacock and Lasse Vlenash. Hey, lads, we look at the margin between you and Cameron. It's 5.5 seconds. Is it fair to say that that's how badly balked you were by the back markers?
Yeah, I was. I think it's just a combination of back markers and the kind of pen I was in. Just I was just trying to stick onto the podium, trying to keep Alex behind me.
Indeed. Now, Matt, anything you want to ask the boys before we press on here?
Not any real questions. They obviously answered the
Yeah.
answered the track for me. I tend to like it. It's a nice flowing track, but obviously the hot lap didn't really show it. Obviously didn't get too many laps, unlike these guys tonight. But just a big congratulations to the podium, but an even bigger one to Sean tonight for the first win of the season. It's good to see you back on top, mate, and hopefully you can keep coming back, maybe even fight your way back and grab the number one again.
Certainly the plan.
Now, I just want to cut in here, boys, because I know we're all Formula One fans, especially after what we saw in Bahrain, and hopefully, there were some hairy moments tonight as you watch the iRacing simsnap.com replay here, folks. Just for the benefit of those of you that are planning to record Formula One this weekend on Fox or KO, the FIA and Formula One made changes to the schedule for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix out of respect to the funeral service of His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, because that's taking place on Saturday. So as a result of that, qualifying will now take place between 10 and 11 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Saturday night instead of 11 and 12. And as a result of that, free practice 3 moves to 7 p.m. as well on Friday. Because of the rules requiring sessions to be separated by at least 2.5 hours and FP3 needing to start no less than 19 hours after the end of FP2, both of the Friday sessions will move forward an hour as well. So 11 o'clock and 2:30 local time rather than 12 and 3:30. So that's again 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and 10:30 Eastern Standard Time for those of you here in Australia. So in the end, that's a win for us because it means early to bed Friday, Saturday night, unless you're staying up to watch the royal funeral. There will be a minute's silence ahead of qualifying as an opportunity for people to pay their respect as well, but no change to race time. That'll still be 11 o'clock on Sunday night. Well, let's continue the conversation here because we're getting ready for the next round of the championship, which is the trip to Interlagos, Brazil, the sole South American round of the season. But I want to start by reflecting on Hockenheim a little bit more, boys, because it was considered a bit of a make or break round. And the fact that we've got a 6 different winner proves that it was always going to be something it was always going to be an event that threw up something special, something unexpected, something surprising. Not surprising in the sense that Sean has got the win, but surprising in the sense of how much carnage there was, because there were a few guys finding it hard out there this evening or coming unstuck. Laz, how much preparation went into tonight, and how much was preparation rewarded on the not just with the top 3, but right throughout the field here, because preparation was king on a circuit that you'd never had a chance to race on before, I would have thought.
Yeah, I put in a lot more work than I usually put in. It took time to get the flow of the track right and get the braking right, and get the setup right. And I did some changes to the setup this morning, and he worked really well to get that pole position and trying to get some consistent laps throughout the race. He helped the teammates at the same time, so it's good.
Yeah, exactly right. As for the race winner, how much work went in for you, Sean?
Yeah, look, same thing. A bit of time in the seat, but plenty of time focusing on setup. So we had a setup from lap 1 for lap 13 that was on point, and that a track like this that makes all the lot of difference. But yeah, a little bit more time. I think I said last week or the week before that more time you put in the seat, the better you are. So back to getting that done and finding some pace again. So it's good.
I was going to say too, very nice work from Sean here in the opening stint. He just sat there and waited for his time, didn't he, Matt? We were commenting on how Laz, it looked like, might have been just backing the pack up and keeping them running at a moderate tempo to his tune. And then all of a sudden, Sean got sick of that, got out of the slipstream, went for the toe down towards the hairpin and went for the move and pulled it off and then cleared out.
Yeah, I actually thought it was a strategy by Laz to let Macca past and jump in behind him and save some fuel of his own. He'd been leading the race for 5-6 laps there, and obviously chewing up a bit of juice out the front, and Sean was just going along for the ride. So I thought it was a little bit of a strategy move, but obviously Laz had a few little, well, not a few, but just an incident with his knee unfortunately hurting. So definitely a good race by Macca, and it's still a good race by Laz to, even though being caught up in some slower traffic there after the pit stop, to still come out and finish the race where he ended.
So Laz, was that strategic?
Strategic to well, I was trying to get Macca to pass me, to be honest, and he didn't want to.
Oh, there we go.
I wasn't going anywhere, mate. I called it.
Macca called it, and we called it.
I was going to let him pass, but I didn't close the door on him in any given stage, and he didn't want to take it. I thought I might have to park it on the side and just let him pass.
That's how I knew you didn't want me to go past, because you didn't defend. So I just thought, and each time down the straight, he was backing off a little bit more. I was like, I ain't going, lads. Come on, mate.
Good call. Paid off, didn't it?
It did.
So there's the replay of the move right now, actually on screen on cue. And it also invited the door there for Cameron Veacock. Let's go back to Cameron Veacock, because I didn't give him the chance. How much prep went in from your end, mate, and for your team as well?
Unfortunately, I didn't get much done again this week. I only went in one official race for the entire week, so I was just running on a setup that I got from one of the setup shops, and that was unfortunately, I guess, my downfall tonight. Towards the end, though, I was chasing down Sean. I don't know how much fuel he had on board or whether he was saving or not, but I started about 4 or 5 seconds behind him, and I was slowly chipping away.
Indeed. And just quickly, disappointing again for Jonesy, really. I mean, there's been a couple of moments that have been very frustrating for him this season. I would have imagined tonight would have been equally as such, given that it all come unstuck when he was given that drive-through penalty. Yeah,
definitely. We were talking about that in there. It never came up with a contact or anything to him, so that's why he was a bit unsure of what happened, because there was no contact and there was no 0x or anything. Yeah, no, we've had a look at it, and it seems like he caught the back call from him.
You're right, Cameron. Keep going, mate.
I got nothing else to say.
All right, copy that. Sorry. Just reminding everybody at home, we sometimes get word in our ear from our director, and that doesn't go out on the broadcast. So if you drivers hear that as well, just bear that in mind. Obviously, yeah, frustrating for I mentioned it. Just if we can focus on Jones for a moment there too, Cameron, because I mentioned this as a critical point for him as far as the championship is concerned. He really needed to start netting some race results if he was to want to play a part or be a factor in the top 3 at the pointy end of town when we got to round 17 Mount Panorama. Do you guys start having a discussion now about focusing on your championship rather than his? Do you concede defeat at some point here as far as he's concerned and focus on your campaign? What's the plan of attack?
Oh, look, mate, he'll keep pushing as hard as he can. We're all racers here, and that's just our nature. We want to go forward.
Exactly.
And obviously, if he can help me at some point, I'm assuring he will. But at this stage, we're both still just driving for ourselves, and we'll see how the rest of the season plays out.
Indeed, we will. We'll get to Interlagos in just a moment. Matt, I mean, really interesting to get the thoughts from the guys here, but at this point in time, it's starting to establish itself as a bit of a two-horse race. You've got yourself and you've got rather Laz, you've got Cameron there. You got Sean on a bit of a charge, but with consistency, it's Cameron versus Lassif going into the next 8 rounds of the championship. It's interesting to see how it plays out from here. Reina Costello, again, with 5th, that's not going to be enough to catch these guys. They're starting to build a little bit of a momentum gap now, aren't they?
They certainly are starting to build momentum. Costello's just had a few unfortunate races. Another one being tonight where he got turned around at the hairpin on the first lap. So a bit of an unfortunate race for him, being tangled up in that. But definitely Cam and Laz, they've got the momentum going, and they've had the momentum going from the start of the season. Sean can come in and upset that. If Macca can definitely hold the pace and get those setups on point, as he likes to say, he can definitely bring the fight to these guys by taking out a couple round wins and starting to giving some clean racing and some pole positions in qualifying, get those bonus points up. And as we all know, Laz with the bonus points, he loves them. He's taken out the round win yet again, and he's only just by 1 point, but it's enough to seal him the round win and get him up there.
And Laz, just coming back to you on that those qualifying sessions, they're frantic, they're fierce. It's always difficult to try and find a clear piece of real estate. I mean, even with only 28 in the field tonight, or 29 rather than the usual 35, 40, still not easy to find a clean piece of track to have a proper crack. But you seem to somehow find the sweet spot each and every week, and it could be those little 5-pointers here and there that serve you well come Mount Panorama.
Yeah, I mean, I did the same thing last season, and that's one of my favorite part of the week, getting quali done. So you get half an hour, track temps are changing, track conditions are changing. You just gotta nail that lap in the right window, without getting held up by traffic, and not getting in anyone else's way either. So tricky quali, always, but good to be on top of it.
All right. I've got a few more questions to roll through here, and then we're going to try and get out of here at 15:15 rather than the usual 30:30. So give everyone a little bit of a reprieve tonight, because next week we do overtime. Quickly to the 3 drivers, even Matt as well as commentator, he can chime in here. Yes or no to a return of Hockenheim on the calendar as the seasons 2 and 3 are unveiled a little bit later on in the season? What do you think?
Yeah. Man, absolutely.
Well, I was going to say, of course, you're going to say yes, because you.
That's
not surprising.
I think every season we should have this in place at Phillip Island, I reckon. Hey, lads, I think that's but no, I enjoy Hock. It's good. It's a nice track. I'd have it back.
Laz?
I don't mind if it doesn't return again, but I'm sure it will.
Emron?
Yeah, definitely. It's a fun track. It has a bit of everything, so I'm definitely keen to see it come back.
Matt, I'm a little bit interested in your response here, because it's 2-1 in favour of yes, no. I mean, I've always associated the circuit with open wheelers. Of course, those of you that are fans of DTM will say, well, what about DTM? Well, yeah, okay. But really, we associate it with open wheelers. But also, I think it throws up great bike racing as well, particularly the old tracks. So are you yes or no in favour of a return to Hockenheim for the NTS Supercars?
It depends. If Laz lets me get around him, I'll say no. But if that's not the case, I'll definitely say for it to come back. Look, I can't really comment on that one. I've only done a handful of laps around here just so I can get a hot lap down for tonight. But in saying that, the laps that I did do, it was fun. It really did feel flowing with the supercar. I did enjoy it. Would have liked to got more time and get out on track with the boys and actually see what it was like and see how fun it is with a field of, even though it's a small one, of 28 cars, I believe it was tonight, 29 cars. Still would have been fun to see what it was like. So I'm going to say yes, just so I can race around here with the boys and rub a few panels. But it all comes down to next season. It might pop up, it might not. It'd be good to see Phillip Island come back so we can at least get three Aussie tracks into the server.
Indeed. Now, normally we get these 150-kilometre races done in the vicinity of an hour. next week, we're pushing towards 250 kilometers for you, ladies and gentlemen, when we head to the Interlagos circuit in Brazil, the first endurance race of the season on, I think it's 4.3 kilometers worth of real estate around there as well in South America. Let me start with the championship leader and work our way around the room here. In fact, actually, that's a good point. Championship points coming up for you very shortly too, ladies and gentlemen. But let's start with Laz here. I'd almost signed off without updating the championship. That'd be a big no-no. Laz Leonage, let's go to you. Next week, how do you prepare for 58 laps as opposed to 33? The circuits are not dissimilar in length here.
I actually enjoyed that track. I'm looking forward to it. It's just getting that setup right and getting on with the job, I guess. But yeah, long race.
Very long race, and obviously a different game to play tactically speaking, because you've got that extra 100 kilometers to take into consideration.
Yeah, at least the braking zones aren't too bad. So it's a nice flowing track, a lot of curved braking zones as well. So it should be interesting.
And I think one thing that it has in favour of the circuit that we've just run at tonight, a couple of more pleasant overtaking opportunities, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, you might see a few people coming unstuck, trying to overtake cars. It's a tricky track. It's not the easiest to drive on, but makes it challenging and makes it interesting.
Indeed. Looking forward to seeing you in action there next week. Sean McNamara, your thoughts on Interlagos and the fact that it's a longer race? I've got a feeling that the longer the race goes, the better it suits you based on what we saw tonight.
Yeah, it's what's excuse me. That's what's kind of shown this season. Is further back into the race, I look after the tyres pretty well, and Interlagos is a great track. As Laz said, I really enjoy driving there, and it is a tyre dig track, so a lot of kilometres. Interesting to see what the pit strategies are going to be like, and tyre sets and bits and pieces. But yeah, it's going to be good, and yeah, it's all about tyre dig there. A little bit of fuel strategy will come into it, no doubt, but it's going to be an absolute cracker.
Indeed, it's going to be. Cameron Veacock, what are your thoughts as we head to South America? We've got our first of 5 European stops done, out of the road. Now, our first and only trip to South America.
Look, as Sean and the boys have said, I think it's going to be an absolute great track. There's going to be a lot of strategy behind it because there is so much tyre degradation there. It's not funny. So it's going to be a matter of who can save tyres, really.
Indeed, it is going to be. Now, I apologise. I said it was about 250 kilometres next week. It's 249.922. I take no comfort in the fact that we promoted it as 250 and we're giving you 249. But still, that's going to be great fun next week all the same. Interlagos, Brazil, the venue, 58 laps. A lot to look forward to. Probably somewhere in the vicinity of an hour and a half worth of racing for you, maybe even just a little bit longer. And I mean, if what was seen tonight is anything to go by, you want to be here front and center next week when we get that broadcast up and away. I think because of the fact that the race is going to be 30-40 minutes longer, we'll be on air half an hour earlier, so 7:50 Australian Eastern Standard Time, but that's still to be confirmed. So make a note of it, and we'll confirm it for you across the course of the next 7 days before we go racing next week. And of course, the usual post-race show will follow regardless. All right, I'll kill the suspense. Let's have a look at the championship standings if we can, if they're ready to rock and roll. The updated points at the end of this round, Lassif Leonage, 27 points now, the advantage over Cameron Veacock. 13.28 place, 13.01. 12.56 for Rainer Costello. That's what I was talking about. They're just slowly creeping away from the youngster. Alex Cord on 12.32, 12.23 for Cameron Jones. See, that's the thing too now. He's now more than 100 points behind Lassif Leonage. Matt, you don't want to give Laz that much of a head start going into the second half of the season, let me tell you that. And then, well, the race is essentially that top 2-3 there, and forget about it, because 11.23, so 100 points from Jones back to Urquhart, and then 2 back to Benny Morris, who had a good run back through the field tonight. 1,010 for Alan Dawson, 1,004 for Jacob Roy. Robert Crisdale makes up the top 10. Over the page, if we can. 11th is Ash Davis, 12th is Chris Owen, 13th Craig Schultz, 14th Sean McNamara, 15th Scott McCune, then Steve Vella, Brian Cooper, Daniel Schultz, Dean Power, and Sam Katakazinas made up the top 20. And as you can see there, the points start to diminish as you get further down through the field, so the gaps start to widen out a little bit. But what's also interesting is we've still got 2 drop rounds to take into consideration here. That being said, I think it's pretty clear at this point, Matt Davis, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we know who our championship contenders are.
Definitely. It's I've been watching them week in, week out, on the track and obviously up here in the booth. Definitely can see who our championship contenders are, and I have a feeling, I'm not going to jinx it, but I'm going to say it, Laz. I think you're on for a good one here, mate. I think you're going to be going back to back.
Yeah. Let's just be perfectly honest. That commentator's curse, if it should eventuate, did not come from me. So therefore, I hope my job is still safe next season. Let's continue on here. That was the big incident of the night. Ireland and Hobbs into the wall. Thankfully, they limped it back to the lane. We'll have another look at it for you, folks, so you can have a second glance at it. All it was the car. You see the car there of Ireland getting sideways on the exit of that stadium section, which was turn 10. He caught the curb. And as soon as he caught the curb, it flicked him hard right. It flicked him sideways. It was savage in the way in which he was thrown back into the line of Lindsay Hobbs here. Watch it from on board with Hobbs and see what we mean. Hobbs on the title line, Ireland going left, further left. He was already sideways and then tried to correct it, caught the curb, and bang. 3-2, whooshka. Into the wall. See you later. That was a big one. Massive shunt. Luckily, the boys were able to limp it back to the lane. Otherwise, we would have had a whole different kettle of fish to deal with, because that would have been right on the precipice of potential fuel-saving pit windows. You would have needed a couple of laps to clean that up, and then you would have had 16 laps left in the race, I think it would have been. So it was right on the precipice of, do we take the gamble fuel and get home, or do we stay out, fuel up at a later point in time, and then get home from there? Thankfully, safety car didn't eventuate. Strategies weren't thrown out the window. So, Sean McNamara from Cameron Veacock and Lasse Fleonage tonight. Our next race we turn our attention to is Interlagos next week. Before that, boys, the floor is yours, starting with you, Sean, as we let you thank whoever you want to thank after what was a superb win, our 6th different winner of the season thus far.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Well, I'll do it a bit backwards. Thank you to you and your Matt for, well, your Matt.
Wow. Hey, I'm no doormat, mate. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, that fella. Yeah. But no, thanks to you and Matt for your commentary every week, and obviously Matt on the Wednesday nights as well. You guys do a stunning job. Thanks to JP for the broadcasting, NTS for sponsoring the series, and all the sub-sponsors as well. Cam, Laz, great racing tonight. Shout out to all my boys for the banter and the ball that they give me. But and of course our amazing sponsors, SRT Australia, Racecraft Simulations, Racing Ears Custom Ears Protection, RSW Graphics, AD 3D Printing Services, Cutting Edge Tracks Australia, and hopefully we have a couple of new announcements in the coming week coming on board for the rest of the year. So thanks, guys.
I'll have a word with you about that one as well, Shawnee. Since I'm not racing anymore, you could probably imagine what that one's going to be about already.
Copy that.
All right, Cameron Veacock, let's go to you.
Yeah, once again, guys, as Sean mentioned, to yourselves, the commentators, JP for the series. Shout out to Cam. Had a bit of a tough night, but he tried to keep me cool. I tried to do the same for him when we have a bit heated moments. But other than that, our sponsors in Harrop, Adrad, Natrad, Valvoline, Too Easy Finance, West End Mazda, and Parramatta Isuzu Ute. And thanks, boys, for a great race, Sean and Laz.
Cameron, you can bring us home, mate. Oh, sorry, Laz. Sorry, my apologies. Fair dinkum.
No worries, mate.
I'm looking at the top of Discord here, not the leaderboard on my iRacing server. Sorry about that, Laz. You can bring us home, mate.
No worries. Just want to thank SimShed Broadcasting, Nationwide Tracking Systems, Goodyear Auto Care Warana, Dragon RC, DSL Welding Services, Abruzzi Australia, VR Covers, Cars for Hope, Racing for Autism Australia, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, and everyone in the back end doing all the hard work. JP, you guys doing the commentary. Awesome job as always. And thanks for a good race podium.
I was going to say, if there's a sign that I'm tired, it's right there. That ball's up if ever there was one. Well done, Laz. Nicely done, mate. Thank you, Cameron. Well done, Sean. Matt Davis, stick around with me because as we wrap things up here, I was just thinking, have I forgotten to mention anything or have I forgotten to
Yes,
talk
we
to these
have.
guys about anything? Well, I have, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But I was going to say, with regards to these guys, I was trying to think of content, but the fact of the matter is they all had 3 very, very clean races. So it wasn't like there was any controversy to discuss or anything like that. So that's why the driver interviews are a little bit short tonight. But we do have a couple of things that you and I need to mention. Firstly, we'll get your final thoughts on what was a great race there in just a moment. Secondly, we'll touch on a driver of the night nomination from you. And thirdly, we've got to talk, of course, about tomorrow night, which is the midway point of the Goodyear Autocare Rana T2 V8E series.
Yes, definitely. It's the wrap up of tonight. A quiet night in the office for us. It wasn't it wasn't too exciting at the start. Usually we've got a lot of yelling coming from your end and bit of enthusiasm for the race going for that, and it's usually a good one. But nice quiet start to the race, and it picked up a little bit in the middle and a little bit towards the end with a couple incidences. But overall, it was a nice relaxing night in the office for us, which I was very, very pleased for. Driver of the night, it's a tough one to choose.
Yeah.
It's actually a very tough one to choose. We had a lot of big movers at the start of the race, but then they dropped away and dropped down the field. So driver of the night would have to go to Macca tonight for the race win. He hasn't had one this season, so big congratulations to him and for the driver of the night. So thank you for that one, and making it even harder for me to choose, I guess. But yeah, and looking forward to tomorrow night with you, Zach, going to the Goodyear Autocare Warana V8 T2E series. Hopefully I don't have to shoot off too soon this time for emergencies on this end. But no, definitely looking forward to those guys. Are the up and coming talent, and are really going to really showing that they've got the speed, the pace, and the talent to really throw it at these guys. They're not too far away on times on a fixed setup. So you can only imagine what they're like on an open setup when they can actually start fine-tuning these cars and really unlocking them.
Really looking forward to seeing what they bring to the fore across the course of the rest of the year before we throw everyone into the same ring. And that's 161 laps around Mount Panorama in December. I'm really already looking forward to that. You're right on a couple of fronts there, Matt. Very quiet night for us in the commentary box. I don't feel as though I got out of third gear tonight, when that's saying something. Secondly, I felt a little bit lost, but somehow managed to stumble my way through when you shot through there last week. But hopefully you'll not be leaving me in the lurch tomorrow night. But thankfully we got through it unscathed. There's a look at the upcoming calendar for you, ladies and gentlemen. The schedule of races to come. Next stop in Lagos for the NTS series. And then, of course, the second leg of the Triple Crown. Then, how good's the next 3 weeks looking, just quietly to take us into the start of May? Enduro next week. Leg 2 of the Triple Crown the week after. Super Sprint the week after that. And Donington as well. If ever there was a place where you wanted a reverse grid race, Donington's it. That is going to throw up some absolute fireworks. Cannot wait for that. Germany was a real winner tonight. Really good performance from Sean McNamara. So 5 different teams and 6 different drivers have had a win so far this season. That's well worth noting. Looking ahead as far as SimShed Broadcasting is concerned, my thanks to Cameron Veacock, Lassif Leonage, and Sean McNamara for their time post-race here. My thanks also to Matt Davis for his expert comments tonight. Goodyear Autocare Rana V8 T2E Series coming your way tomorrow night, 8:20 Eastern Standard Time. And that's, of course, from this very venue, the Hockenheimring in Germany. And, of course, it's the first and only trip to Germany this season as far as this NTS and GAC series are concerned. Next week, the Nationwide Tracking Systems ramps up into enduro mode, 58 laps from the Interlagos circuit in Brazil, just a smidgen under 250 kilometers. Looking forward to that immensely. And, of course, we'll make up the ground that we lose on the 250 marker when we get to Mount Panorama at the end of the year, because that 41 laps will take us to just beyond 250 kilometers and looking forward to it immensely. Hey, huge thanks to all the great people that helped make it happen. I mentioned them just before we got stuck into the post race. I'll mention them again now before we wrap things up. It wouldn't be possible without Nationwide Tracking Systems, Racecraft Simulations, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, Hybrid Racing Simulations, DJM Parramatta, Dragon RC, and Abruzzi, and also, of course, Track Cams for Gourmet and the Melbourne Hydrographics Depot. Great racing as always in the Nationwide Tracking Systems V8 Super Series, the NTS Hockenheim 150, won by Sean McNamara. 6 different winner of the season thus far. We're halfway done, 8 rounds left to go, and it all gets underway with the first enduro of the season next week. Lassif Leonage extends his championship lead, but Cameron Veacock is right there ready to pounce should Leonage slip up, and we're looking forward to seeing what the next 8 weeks will bring our way and your way as well. Hope you'll continue to tune in every Tuesday night with us here. Hope you've enjoyed what we've brought you thus far. And, of course, that you'll continue to tune in and enjoy what we are serving up here, because the racing has been red hot tonight. Maybe a little bit of a quieter affair, as Matt alluded to there earlier, but the quality's still top shelf, as was proven by the intense fight at the front of the field in the opening stint in particular. And, of course, Cameron's late lunge to try and get home in the battle with Sean McNamara there, but he ran out of laps, and of course he had a little bit too much fuel in the tank, as he detailed there a little while ago. So that's it from us. Hope you've enjoyed the coverage across SimShed Broadcasting's platforms and Real Sim Racing Australasia across YouTube and Facebook. On behalf of Matt Davis, JP, and the team, I'm Zach Caban saying a very good night to you, and we look forward to doing it all again with the second TS series and the circus that entails that great action tomorrow night, 8:20 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Until then, goodbye.